Hello, my name is Henry Keane. This is News Pulse, as usual, at UATV. Welcome to the daily segment. Today in the episode, Shadow Fleet turned into shadow indeed. Madyar Brovdy posted reports with stunning numbers. Zelenskyy meets Trump in White House. Both presidents confirm it was positive, pragmatic and mutually beneficial meeting. The Pentagon is reconsidering the presence of United States troops in Europe. See the details and probable aftermath in our story. During 3 weeks of operation of the Unmanned Systems Forces of Ukraine, results are somewhat staggering. 201 ships of the Russian so-called Shadow Fleet exposed to the light and scopes of Ukrainian drones. The Kerch Bay also remains blocked indefinitely. According to Commander Madyar, 129 ships of total 201 were hit in the Azov Sea and another 72 in the Black Sea. Moreover, Madyar clarified that this statistics does not include ships hit by the security service of Ukraine during this period, and also hunting results of other units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces are not included. So the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces notes that it was actually planned to hit 221 ships during the operation. So Ukrainian drones continue their hunt on it, but it's hard, as it is a few Russian ships left in this area. They are hiding in the real shadows now. A large-scale fire broke out at one of Russia's largest oil refineries in the city of Perm. Also, another Russian city, Ryazan, came under a massive drone attack. The strikes sparked large fires at two separate facilities. The targets were famous or infamous, such yourself, Russian marketplace warehouse Wildberries. The premises this time a sorting facility and a local oil refinery as a smoking cherry on the top. Main reason behind the attacks on Wildberries is that it sells and stores military-related goods in its warehouses like helmets, body armors, the fiber optic cables for drones, etc., etc. The company has specifically created a dedicated section in their warehouses called Everything for the Special Military Operation, but it recently, for some reason, decided to remove this title from its website. But those military goods are still there, and so they still will burn.
We have new results from our long-range sanctions targeting Russian facilities that work to support and prolong the war. An oil refinery and logistics center in Ryazan were hit. The distance from the Ukrainian border is about 360 kilometers. A site where the Russian Black Sea Fleet's high-speed boats are based in our temporarily occupied Crimea was also hit. Long-range sanctions were also carried out against an oil refinery in the Perm region, as well as an export terminal and a military enterprise in the Rostov region. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine, on X.
Hour-long meeting behind closed doors that went very good, as both presidents confirmed Donald Trump meets Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the White House. It was a closed meeting, meaning journalists were not allowed to see the leaders together in the Oval Office, but the meeting went much friendlier than last year when Trump openly criticized Zelenskyy and said, "You don't have any cards in your hand." The administration and right-wing figures have recently shown a shift in attitude towards Ukraine, and Trump and Zelenskyy held a friendly meeting in the NATO summit earlier this month. The Trump administration now appears to be providing Ukraine with more support than at any time during his second term.
It was a great honor to meet with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. Many issues were discussed. The meeting went very well. Donald Trump, President of the United States, on Truth Social.
American defense company Lockheed Martin, one of the largest and strongest enterprises in the United States, a producer of ATACMS, HIMARS, F-16 fighter jets and missiles for Patriot systems, was visited by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
We discussed the further development of our cooperation, joint production and exchange of technologies. Ukraine has a lot to share with those who help us protect lives. We also talked about our joint capabilities regarding Patriots and other systems. Our teams are already working on specific solutions to start joint production as soon as possible and increase our mutual capabilities in protecting lives. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on X.
In turn, Laura Loomer, a well-known American far-right blogger and MAGA activist, visited a factory producing Ukrainian drones. Earlier, influential pro-Ukrainian U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, who had recently and tragically passed away, had also visited the same facility.
Hey everybody, Laura Limer here. I am currently in Ukraine at the world-famous Skyfall drone manufacturing facility. I am holding the P-1 Sun drone interceptor, and you may have seen this drone interceptor recently because it's the same exact drone interceptor that was held by Senator Lindsey Graham just 2 days before he tragically passed away. Now, a lot of people are not aware of this, but Senator Lindsey Graham was actually celebrating his 71st birthday the day that he visited this drone facility in Ukraine.
After a month of negotiations, senators have agreed on the final text of the high-profile initiative. A bipartisan group of US senators has reached an agreement on the final version of a bill imposing so-called bone-crushing sanctions against Russia. A vote is expected to take place soon. As Bloomberg reports, the legislation will grant the United States president new powers to exert economic pressure on countries that continue purchasing Russian energy. In particular, it would authorize additional tariffs on the 5 largest importers of Russian oil and natural gas, as well as on the 5 countries that help Russia circumvent energy sanctions. The legislation also provides for a blanket 500 tariff % on Russian goods imported into the United States. Separately, the president will be authorized to impose an additional 100% tariff on the largest buyers of Russian energy and on countries that facilitate sanctions evasion. It's also worth noting here that a change introduced to the bill limits these new authorities to 5 years. The Pentagon has launched a review of American troop presence in Europe. It is expected to determine the number of American troops and scope of military resources on the continent. Meanwhile, in Lithuania, NATO forces are practicing scenarios for a real crisis. Military personnel are learning to deploy tanks and equipment without the use of rail or air power. How Europe is strengthening its defense capabilities without the United States in our following story for you.
While Europe is responding to immediate security threats, Washington is reassessing its own military footprint on the continent. The Pentagon has launched a comprehensive review of U.S. force posture in Europe. Elbridge Colby, the U.S. Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, announced on X social media. The review will last 6 months and examine strategic, geopolitical, and military considerations before presenting options for the future of America's military presence in Europe. In practical terms, it could result in a reduction of U.S. troops stationed on the continent.
Today, the Department of War kicked off the Europe Posture Review Secretary Hegseth announced at the last NATO Defense Ministerial meeting in Brussels. As the Secretary laid out then, this will be a real review designed to ensure that NATO is moving fast and irreversibly toward Europe taking primary responsibility for its conventional defense. Elbridge Colby, U.S. Undersecretary of Defense for Policy on X social media.
European governments, however, have reacted with mixed feelings. Speaking to Sky News, Britain's new Defense Secretary, Wes Streeting, acknowledged that President Donald Trump's rhetoric and approach are not always well understood by America's European allies. At the same time, he reaffirmed that the United Kingdom remains committed to increasing defense spending and strengthening its armed forces.
Defense has got a lot to contribute as well as a lot to ask of the Exchequer, and as we get to that 3.5% commitment we've made to our NATO allies by 2035, we will be setting out at the budget and spending reviews the path to getting there.
While London debates defense budgets, NATO's eastern flank is already preparing for scenarios in which European allies may need to operate with reduced U.S. logistical support. A multinational NATO battle group, led by Germany's 45th Armored Brigade, conducted military exercises in Lithuania under an unconventional scenario, deploying forces without using railways, sea transport, or airlift. A convoy of around 80 pieces of heavy equipment, including Leopard tanks, traveled overland through Poland to Kazlu Ruda. Meanwhile, Lithuanian Prime Minister Mindaugas Sinkevičius reaffirmed his country's commitment to maintaining defense spending at 5% of GDP.
We are a frontline nation on NATO's eastern flank. It is obvious that we are investing and will continue investing substantial resources in defense. But as we look toward 2030 and beyond, we must also consider how to sustain this effort through our national budget and how to strengthen our defense industry. Mindaugas Sinkevičius, Prime Minister of Lithuania, from an article in LRT.
The idea that Europe must increasingly rely on its own capabilities is now shaping not only defense budgets, but also broader security initiatives. According to Bruegel, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom are discussing the creation of a European nuclear umbrella based on France's nuclear deterrent to complement NATO's security guarantees. At the same time, several other initiatives are moving forward, including the Coalition of the Willing, a European anti-ballistic missile coalition to help protect the skies over Ukraine and Europe, and joint drone production projects through which Ukraine is sharing its unique battlefield experience with its allies. Germany is also strengthening both its own military capabilities and NATO's collective defense by planning to acquire the US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles.
We are a defensive alliance. That means we will never attack anyone. Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General, in an interview with DPA.
Berlin's plans to purchase Tomahawk missiles and Typhoon launch systems became public after NATO's July summit in Ankara, following assurances reportedly received by Chancellor Friedrich Merz from President Trump. Rutte welcomed the decision, calling it an important step towards strengthening NATO's collective deterrence. As the United States reviews its military posture in Europe and Russia continues its war against Ukraine, European nations are steadily building a stronger defense architecture of their own. From Lithuanian armored deployments and discussions of a French-led nuclear umbrella to German long-range strike capabilities, reported by Dmytro Shulha, UATV News.
Well, that's it for today. I'm Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for being with us, for watching this segment. We appreciate your time and effort a lot. Please also share, comment, subscribe to UATV. We've got you covered on whatever happens tomorrow. But for all of us, but always in Ukrainian perspective, as usual, stay safe and see you tomorrow.